Hi there, I'm Lars, also known as Dice Goblin Games, and I am going to play a little bit of Danger Close, my tactical military skirmish TTRPG. I'm going to live improv this solo play. I might edit it a little bit if I get really stuck, but overall it acts as a little bit of a demo for you and as a little playtest for myself. I have the PDF over here and I can switch it to a canvas I prepared to just show you a few things, and I have a little dice roller for my dice pools as well, so I should be able to show you the dice rolls I'm making. So Danger Close, a tactical military skirmish TTRPG. I would call it tactical because you make meaningful decisions, not on a super zoomed in scale. We're not rolling for every individual bullet or attack, but also not on a very high over scale where we like roll entire battles in just one dice roll. It's right in the middle. It's military. The theming and the ideas is very much around games like Helldivers 2, XCOM, the Marines in Halo, the Clone Wars and Star Wars, the Imperial Guard in Warhammer 40k. Like, those are really inspirations as to what we're doing here. And a big inspiration as well was the type of stories I would see emerge when I would play war games. But I actually did not like war games that much, as in the whole meta, laying out all the big strategies. I did like painting the miniatures and all that, but I mostly just really liked how these little stories would emerge, and that is what I'm trying to simulate with this game. Well, it's skirmish level because you control a squad, so it is the squad being a part of a larger conflict, but it's very much about the positioning of individual troopers. And it is a TTRPG because I would not call it a war game, I would not call it a board game, it's a bit more freeform than that. So yeah, tactical military skirmish TTRPG. Let me see if I can pull up the PDF here. I will sometimes switch to this as a reference. This is the PDF I've released so far. All the images are still open source placeholders. They're all Unsplash and Pexels images. I'm hoping to get it properly illustrated. This is also my first foray into doing my own layout. So I'm quite happy with how it looks so far, but it's still a very early draft. So I will switch to my canvas. And basically, what I was figuring for today is I would like to play a little bit in a Warhammer 40k style setting. So I imagined I would play as a group of Space Marines, and I was thinking about it, and then I was like, oh, it would be cool to assault like a Void Shield power generator, and that our mission is to take that down. This is just something I made up. I thought it would be cool to play, and the game is designed to be used as a toy box and as a sandbox, and just to be able to be like, yeah, let's go play that type of scenario. So I laid out a very basic structure. We'll be hitting an LZ, a landing zone, and then there are 3 sectors we have to go through, and then we hit the objective. A sector is an abstracted location. It's just one of the various locations we pass through. In a city, it could be something like a big promenade. Then the next sector could be a big square. But then also the next sector could be like tight alleyways. So they are abstract in their size, and you'll notice there's more in our game that's a bit abstracted on purpose, so we can interpret it however we want to. For the setting here, I will add that right away. I had in mind it would be cool to do like an ice planet, or maybe we're in like the north of a planet near the Arctic, and I would like to fight, let's just say, like Imperial Guard, but like the Rebel Guard. What's that called? Is it called Rebel Guard? Heretics, cultists, we'll call it cultists slash heretics. There we go. That is our flavoring. We'll just keep that in mind as we go along. I've also already set for this mission, we'll do it at a routine difficulty level. The difficulty level of a mission determines how difficult individual encounters can be. So if I would play a desperate mission, then the threat level of encounters could range from well, standard to overwhelming. But now I'm going to, it tops out at standard. So it's patrols lightly contested in the flavor text. Okay, so we are going to have a look at my squad. By default, every trooper has armor and a weapon, and that is flavored as having medium armor and a assault rifle. That means that every trooper by default can contribute to a firefight. The default text flavors that as an assault rifle, but we can flavor it as whatever. In this case, for Warhammer 40k, and I want to play as Space Marines, I will interpret medium armor that will be worn by the Space Marines as Mark 7 power armor. And if there would be troopers with heavy armor, I could interpret it as Terminator armor, and if there would be lightly armored troops, and I have one in my squad, that's Scout armor in this case. Like, I just flavor the elements that are in the game. As for weapons, the default assault rifle here I'll flavor as a bolter, and then there are some variations of that. I'll have a look over there because I did already prepare that. These are my troopers, and this is essentially also the character sheet for the time being. I named all the troopers after easy letters, and I took cute little pictures from the Warhammer miniatures. I have a couple of... Oh, this one is still... I need to replace that one. I have a better picture of him. Can I... Oh no, I prepared everything for my beautiful live stream. There we go. I want this one. Yeah, I wanted a commander. He is not like in the image decked out with a standard bolter, but just, you know, he has standard capabilities of contributing to firefights. So he has medium armor, an assault rifle, but I have given him a melee weapon, which comes also from the rules of my game, and I've given him a commander's kit, which allows him to command other troopers. He has one grit at the moment. Grit basically allows rerolls in terms of surviving, pushing through. And he has 3 ammo. Ammo allows extra rolls when making attacks and is consumed by certain special weapons. So if during an attack roll you don't hit your mark, you can expend extra ammo to make it count. So we have Sergeant Alias. We have Trooper Brennus, medium armor, assault rifle. We have Trooper Cassander, medium armor, assault rifle. And then we have Decimus, who I gave, or like I saw a cool picture and I was like, oh yeah, let's go for a heavy machine gun. He still has his assault rifle, or we could flavor it as he can use his heavy machine gun as an assault rifle, like just to contribute normally to combat. It doesn't really matter. In this case, the assault rifle marker is more like you can contribute normally to firefights, and having the heavy machine gun allows you to do special things with that, which we'll get to. But it mostly means you can have one extra weapon, and he has the heavy machine gun. How we flavor that is kind of up to us. And then we have Ector, who is a scout. He has light armor, which helps him with moving. He has an assault rifle, or can contribute normally to firefights, and has a sniper rifle, which also allows him to do special kind of tricks. All their statuses are currently healthy. They are okay, because we haven't started yet. So that is the group I had in mind. Well, let's see. This is what we'll get to later. But basically, when we have a look at the core rules, we can see here I made the squad in the Excalidraw canvas I just showed. And we have all the troops and their properties. I made my own version of that. And then we have a mission. And a mission consists of one or multiple objectives, and we need to move between sectors to reach our objective. all placeholder content, and you can see here we can do it like branched or multiple choice, or have it in certain sequences, or even have a separate extraction zone you need to reach and hold, and you can go quite complex with that. But for our purposes here, I went very simple. Okay. Our Space Marines load up in their drop pods, and they are launched towards the surface of this icy planet. Maybe because of the void shield, they cannot drop right on target. I don't know. But they land at their LZ, and they extract, they draw out their weapons, and they begin to advance on the objective. Now, as we are flavoring the base game, we can also flavor what happens here. The main point is that we do not roll for individual attacks. So in this case, they land at the LZ and then they proceed to Sector A without trouble. But that without trouble, we can interpret in various ways. In case of Space Marines, we could write down in our little log, maybe I should make a little log here, that they landed and that they crashed right on a heretic transport and just overwhelmed 50 heretics and blew them up into a bloody mist. We can narrate that because for the power level we're playing as Space Marines, they would basically not really face serious resistance. If I would be playing as, say, Imperial Guard, as scrappy normal humans, I might flavor it as they overpower 2 scouts in a desperate scuffle for a knife in the mud, something like that. So as we write the story of our mission, we can flavor it as we want. So I will do a little mission log here. Do I have space for that? I think so. We're freestyling. Oh, I want that large. And I'll add below deployment to Arctic Zone 37A on planet Kappa Gamma 9. So we just have that, and then we'll say they encountered minor resistance upon crashing into the icy wastes. Okay, so our squad is currently deployed, and we could, extend this scene. We could have a little role-playing moment here, whether you're playing solo or you're playing with another player, controlling one or multiple troopers. But in this case, I'm just going to move forward because I've already been talking for quite some time. They are going to make an advance roll because we are going to advance from the LZ to Sector A. Wait, am I saying this correctly? No, I should first roll up the contents of the sector to see what's in there. And then we can see whether we even need to advance or not, or like advance on an enemy. So, a sector has cover, space, and threat level. I'm going to roll a d6 for its cover. And I'll roll a d6 for the space, and I'll just take left d6 for cover and the right d6 for the space. Cover means how much protection there is. Space is more about, is it a cramped quarters? So you could be in a zone or a sector where you are very tight, like you're in a tunnel, but you do not have cover because there are no pillars. So it's just a bottleneck. You could also be in a very exposed area with no cover, with dense cover, and like a square, so you can easily maneuver around, but there are plenty of destroyed cars and pillars and whatever to hide behind. So you could have various combinations of that. I'm just gonna roll. Ooh, we have 2 5s. That is interesting. That means it is a dense, open sector to start with. So I'm going to write that down here. So there is a lot of rubble, solid walls or barricades. but it's also a very open space. So we can try to interpret that within our icy planet. I would say it's a rocky field with patches of ice, but also just large rocks cropping out through the ice, having like a lot of sidelines. If we would have had exposed, we would have been on a frozen lake, for instance. Next, I'm going to roll for, I will say here, by the way, Zone A, or Sector A. Rocky or icy plateau, Jesus, with numerous rocky outcroppings. I did roll up the terrain because even if there is no threat now, which we're gonna roll for, it could be that a firefight later leads back here. So we do need to set what this terrain is. Yeah, I set the mission to routine, so I will roll in the routine table, and that's 1d6. That is a 2, so that's a threat level 1 situation. And now we're entering this cycle. We just landed, we're all safe. We are going to advance and move to this new sector, and we just established that there is a threat there. And we established that it is a threat level 1. And the threat levels, let's see, I should have them defined here. We go from light, standard, heavy to overwhelming. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are encountering threat level 1 here as established. So that's not too difficult. So we'll be rolling on this part when we get there. But first, our squad landed, exited their pods, got their weapons ready, and is now advancing. I am going to make a roll, an advance roll, because there is a threat. And we're going to see what applies out of these elements. No one is injured. Not all troopers are in light armor, and no troopers are in heavy armor, so we have no mobility buff or debuff. And for fatigue, we have... this is our first advance roll, so we're all good. Weather, we have not established explicitly that it's like a blizzard. It could be, but not the case. So, I'm going to roll 2d3, which we do not have in our dice roller. That's a shame. So I'm going to roll 2d6 and then half the result. And I'm going to roll on the light, threat level light, result bit here. That's a 1 and a 5, so that's a d3, so that's 1 remains a 1, and a 5 becomes a 3, so that's a 4. So we start with advantage in this case, and that means that the squad is in cover and flanking. Cool, we're gonna go over to this bit here. Basically, I'm gonna have a sip of water. I'm gonna cut that out. We have now entered an engagement, and during an engagement, we are trying to get momentum to a point that we push the enemy back. Here goes the same as before. When we gain momentum, we can narrate that as we're providing a lot of fire and the enemy is ducking and fleeing, or we are slaying them by the hundreds. It's whatever the tone of the story is. Given that we're playing Space Marines, it's probably more likely to be the latter. So, currently, our momentum is at 0 because we've just entered this situation. And we had in our table, we had advantage. So the squad is in cover and flanking. I'll apply that in a moment. And during this engagement, we have various rounds of combat, which we call an exchange. So we have multiple exchanges to get into a certain amount of momentum. In this case, because we are at threat level 1, we want to get to the 2 here. So it's a low bar to clear. Whoops, that's where we want to go. That's not very nice. That's our goal. I'll keep it like that. The main thing, like as we are abstractly tracking what our troopers are doing, we don't have a battle map. We are simply trying to keep in mind what does the trooper's position look like. And we do that on 2 axes. We do it on defensive and offensive position. The idea being that, say, in a game like Helldivers 2, when you are shooting at enemies and suddenly the return fire becomes too much, you dive behind the barricades, thus greatly increasing your defensive position. But from that position, you are unlikely to be able to return fire properly, like you're shooting through cover or something like that. Well, on the other hand, if you crest a hill, you have great sightlines at your foes, but they can also easily return fire. So your defensive and offensive position is likely to be related, but not always, because there are sometimes positions where you are in a position both in cover, but still able to attack the enemy quite well. And that's kind of what you want to get to. So our individual troopers, what we'll be trying to do is to leverage their offensive and defensive position while they are taking damage and returning fire, and we are trying to use those positions to deal more damage before we die and try to reach a certain momentum to finish the fight. So we're just going to try it out. Basically, because we have offensive position and defensive position, and those are 2 axes, you can kind of visualize it as a 3x3 grid, which is what I'm doing here. And our fight started with a position of advantage, which means the squad is in cover and flanking. That is a sick, crazy good position. So I'm going to take my boys here. Oh. And I'm going to put them in cover, which is this column. And I'm going to put them in flanking. So that means they are less likely to get injured when in combat. And they all roll an extra d6 when firing. This is all thanks to the good advance roll we had. However, as you may have seen before, if troopers are wounded, the advance roll can actually be quite bad, or like you can have quite bad results. And then, you get a spiral of possible failure. So, by all means, this is good, but not extremely good. Like, it doesn't invalidate the mission because we only just started, so we need some good rolls. Our Space Marines landed, they're advancing on the enemy, they surprised the opponent, and they're now gonna let them have it. And they need to, because they need they're strike force. We need to move quick and hard. So I'm now going to start the exchange, and the troopers determine their intent. What are they going to do? Then the squad makes an offense roll. Then all the troopers make defense rolls individually. And then we check if momentum has changed. And then we see if the opponents apply any counter tactics. And then we start over again with this routine. So first we're going to determine intent, which can be firing, which just means trying to damage the enemy and gain momentum. It can be moving. And as we saw before, moving can mean, for instance, less risk of injury or do more damage, but everyone's already flanked because we surprised the enemy. So there's not really any need to move right now. There is covering fire, which defense troopers that are moving. So if one trooper wants to move up, the other can provide covering fire. And then we have things such as special gear, interacting, or fleeing, which are not applicable now. It's going to be quite simple. Everyone is going to fire. So all of our troopers have the intent of firing. That means by default, everyone can. Oh, this is also still the old token. Let me get the new one of our commander. There we go. So everyone is going to fire. So everyone adds a d6 to our attack pool. 2, 3, 4, 5. But everyone is flanking, so everyone rolls an extra d6. It's quite powerful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're rolling 10 d6. We have a 6 in there. That's good, because now I'm going to go to here. We determined our intent, and now everyone is firing and we're resolving the offense roll. We are at threat level 1 or 2 because we were at a very easy mission, and we have a 6, and for each additional 6, if there are 2 or more 6s, we gain an additional +1 momentum, and you see we have 2 6s here. So this is a very good result. So that would mean that this basically moves up to there, all in one go. If the momentum gain from success is enough to defeat the enemy, the engagement ends in victory. This little engagement is already successful. This is lovely. But to be clear, we are statistically these troopers are not Space Marines, like we're flavoring them as such. But they are fresh on a mission, and we are lucky with our rolls. So this is all a beautiful demonstration. Could not have planned this any better. I will update this. The squad advances, manages to surprise a heretic patrol and mows them down from a flanking position. Nice. Very nice. Okay. Our troopers, I'm going to borrow you again, are now in Sector A. We're going to go back to our rulebook. I thought this was going to be like a 5-minute video, and I've already been talking for half an hour. It's not good. We're having fun, though. Anyway, I'm going to scroll up again to our rulebook, to the cycle that we're doing. We just advanced, and the advance roll was basically a success. So we are catching our breath. We have no mechanical penalty so far. Everyone fired, but we're assuming that they have enough ammo for normal firefights. So our squad is now, I don't know, executing the survivors, doing lovely things like that. And this means we basically make another advance roll. So I'm going to roll up the next sector. Yeah, I rolled a 2 and a 5, which means a normal cover situation, and a 5 means it's once again open. So we could say here that our field, our icy field, is maybe somewhat opening up because we have less cover. So Sector B, fewer rocks between mounds of snow and icy surfaces. Okay, it's not the most inspiring environment, but that's okay. Next, we're going to roll for the threat. Still a routine mission, so we're going to roll 1d6. That's another threat level 2. or sorry, threat level 1, because we rolled a 2. Our situation for the advance roll did not change, because weather is not bad. We have not made 3 advance rolls yet, so I'm just going to roll 2 of these. That's once again a position of advantage. Oh, this is going very smoothly because we're rolling them as D3s. So we once again have a 4. Once again have a position of advantage. Everything is still set up like that, which is interesting. Everyone is still in this position, or again in this position. The only thing here is that we are in a normal. Just going to double check something for our battlefields. Yeah, because previously we were in a dense and open terrain, and the density of cover and the space available affect offensive and defensive position. Oh, this is a typo. I should fix that. But in this case, having a normal open situation means that no more than 2 troopers can be fortified, but there is no limit on how many troopers can be flanking, which is very nice because we're not about fortifying. All the troopers are trying to flank, so I don't have to make choices there. Basically means in this case I can once again roll 10d6. That's more than 2 6s. So again, our troopers get a 6 means at least 1 6 means 1 momentum, another 6 means 2 momentum. Yeah, that means they once again clear the opposition in one go. Because it is threat level 1. Good for them. Not very exciting for us, but that's how the dice work sometimes. I'm not sure I would call this a bug per se, because it's hard to convey here, but this is a game where a failure can cascade quite fast. So one bad roll can have quite dire circumstances. All right, I'm going to roll the next sector. Okay, let's get back to it. Our next sector. Let me get the dice roller out. Let's do d6 again. A 1 and a 2. No real cover. Interesting. And it is a transitional space. So I imagine that the Void Shield power generator is built like maybe next to a cliff, or with some natural cover, and we're sort of going into like a canyon between ice shelves. And the problem is, it's getting more narrow, so we have less space to maneuver. But there's also less cover here, so it's exposed and transitional. Nice. Okay, I might fudge the dice here because I do believe it's time for some action, but let's see what the dice say first. Let's see if the dice... Perfect. I did not fudge, just rolled it, but that's a 1, which means a threat level 2 situation. So this also kind of works with the flow of our story, because this means we're getting more opposition. We're going down here again. And threat level 2 means a standard threat, which is something I also want here. I'm also just reading what I need to fix later. Threat level 2 is a standard threat, which means that advantage becomes less likely. Interesting. I'm going to roll 2d6. We're going to count them as d3s. This is the 3rd advance roll this mission. But I would say, yeah, I have not made 3 advance rolls yet, so it's not for each 3. So I don't have any debuffs. I'm just going to roll. The 4 counts as a 2. The 5 counts as a 3. That is a value of 5. That's still advantage. That's a shame. My boys are just too good. They are really nailing their advances here. However, as we are now in Sector C, there is a threat level 2. So it is threat level +1. So our goal is 3. So that does mean they cannot win in 1 roll. So they will have to take incoming fire, finally. They did roll once again advantage. So they are in cover and flanking. So this is still, again, the correct position. But I am going to check briefly with the battlefield rules, because we are currently in a let's see. We are never fortified because we are exposed. And we are in a transitional. So no more than 2 troopers can be flanking. Now that's nice. That's a nice little twist. So while our advance roll would allow us to have all troopers flanking, the sheer geography of our little ice canyon here does not allow more than 2 troopers to be flanking. So I need to start making some choices. I'm going to not think about this too long because I want to keep the flow going, but I'm going to briefly look at equipment and gear. We have a sniper rifle, which works from fortified, which is impossible due to the landscape. That's an interesting twist. And we have a heavy machine gun that also works mostly from fortified. And our light armor allows us to move more easily. I am just going to say, logically speaking, we can only have 2 troopers flanking. Our commander he is going to have. Does this make sense? So we have our sniper and 1 normal trooper flanking. I'm just going to go with that. So the sniper and the heavy machine gun both overcome basically the penalty from being in a bad firing position. So a sniper does not benefit from having more enemies to shoot from, basically due to their rate of fire. You can sort of interpret it like that. And they mostly benefit from being in the back and then being able to fire. Maybe what I will do is briefly check this. We are currently in an exposed situation, which means we can never be fortified. So I'm going to quickly just do this. We cannot do that. Oh, I clicked it away. And we can, we have a limit on how many troopers we can be flanking. So this is max 2. I'll just put this here. So this is just to visualize what we have going on here. All right, we are going to check our intent now. Now the interesting thing is there is no better defensive position available just for the lack of cover in this icy canyon. So otherwise you might be like, oh, let's move some people into cover for safety, but they can't. Everyone will take an injury on rolling a 1 or a 2. There's a 1 in 3 chance of that. So they cannot move up. And we also cannot move any of these 3 into better offensive position because there is no space for that on our battlefield. So I think that means that, let me peep the names here. Alias and Cassander and Decimus are all just going to be firing. Our 3 boys here, because that's the best they can do. Our flankers, I think the same. I think firing is still our best option, especially in an opening move. Like, we do not have any positioning to worry about yet. It's mostly going to be a worry if now people get injured, then we need to move them back so they don't get injured more. So, we are going to fire. I'm not going to do anything fancy. I have 1, 2, 3 people doing normal firing. I have 2 people firing from a flanking position. So I'm going to just start with the 5d6 for each trooper. And then I'm going to add 2 more for Brandis and Hector, I think his name was. So we have 7d6. That is juicy. Now we see the risk of a dice pool. We do not have a 6 here. We have a 5. Let's see what that means. A 5 against a threat level 1 or 2 means we either hold position or we gain success at a cost. So, we can hold position and just straight up not lose any momentum, but also not gain any. Or we can gain 1 momentum, but we must pick the trooper most at risk in fiction, and we give them a debuff on their defense roll. All the troopers are technically in cover, but I do like that these 2 are flanking, and I kind of like that even though mechanically it's established here that they are just as good in just as properly defended as the other 3. I have to pick a trooper. I can randomly pick, but I like narratively that something goes on here, and this is where the juicy bits begin. This is the part I like, because now we can just imagine it, right? So we have an icy canyon, and it's getting more narrow. There's less cover, less space to maneuver. Heretics pop up, maybe partially on like the slopes at the edge of the canyon, so there's a bit of a crossfire position. Brennus and Hector dive into slightly more advantageous positions. Let's say they move up together. Maybe there's like a throng of cultists that move forward, and they kind of move to the side to then like, I don't need to gesture. So our boys are like this, and Brennus and Hector quickly move like this. So when the enemy arrives, they kind of like, do a little pincer maneuver there. Let's we make a little. There you go. It's like our icy canyon. And Hector is popping them off one by one. And let's say that he has like tunnel vision going on. He's too focused on his scope. He's a scout still as well, judging by the token. So we're gonna say that Brennus takes a position of like covering him. Like, he pops out a bit more to cover his scout buddy, and that is what puts him at risk. It is also that move that kind of gains the momentum here. That's why they gain momentum, this risky maneuver, but it is a risky maneuver. So we have now resolved the offense rolls, and we've established you're going to get success at a cost. So I'm going to, as success at a cost says, we're going to gain 1 momentum. But I'm going to resolve what that means otherwise after the defense rolls. So all our troopers now make defense rolls based on their defensive position. Our top 3 boys have an injury on a 1 or a 2. And our bottom 2 also on a 1 or a 2, except for our poor boy Brennus. I roll, or I subtract 1d6. So in this case, if you have 1d6 and you lose 1, you roll 0d6. And if we roll 0d6, we roll 2d6 and take the lowest. So, roll 1d6 for everyone. Injury on a 1 or a 2, except our boy Brennis. I roll 2d6 and I take the lowest value. So, it's not looking great. They all have medium armor, which has the property that we can ignore the first injury taken per engagement. I might tweak this later because this is quite powerful in this case. But the fight is not over yet, so let's stick with the rules as written and see what happens. Yeah, let's keep this open. Let's go for our 3 boys here. So that's Alias, Cassander, and Decimus. I will arrange them also here from A, C, D, and I will roll 3d6 and interpret from left to right. Injury, injury, safe. Damn, they are taking a beating. I can imagine like cultists with heavy stubbers, you know, just throwing up ice and sludge everywhere. Their armor protects them. So that's for Alias and Brennis. And for that purpose, just on the character sheet, I will add a little thingy here. I will have this maybe for armor protection. So each started with that. Could also make a mark, but and in this case, we said A and C. I've used their armor to not get injured because they would gain 1 injury now on threat level 2. So I will remove for A and C their armor notch. Ector doesn't have one because he has light armor, so he doesn't have that defense. Whew. Now we're gonna roll for Brennis and our sniper. I'm first going to roll for our sniper. He's safe. 2d6 for Brennis. Take the lowest value. That's an injury. He is going to use his armor in this case. So, or his armor protects him. Yeah, I think it would make it's more fun if that ticks away because it is a big buff in this case. But we're not done yet. Okay. So, we have now made our defense rolls, and now we're going to check the impact on momentum, because in this case we gained 1 momentum and the fight isn't over yet. So we're going to roll 1d6 on the next offensive roll. I will add a little also a little notch here so we remember. Gaining momentum basically means we are firing, we're advancing, our opponents are bleeding, they're falling, they're exploding, they're fleeing. We are gaining ground. But that also means that if I just had a good perch to shoot from, that might not be a good perch moving forward because the enemy has retreated, because they don't want to get shot. So I might need to move up to maintain my advantage. So we do not have a battle map to represent that. We track that with relative position. Any troopers that were flanking can either choose to become engaged. So, flanking to engaged as the enemy falls back. Or they can remain flanking, but with the risk of +1 injury if hit during the next exchange. So, Brennis and Ector can keep their relative flanking position, and which would mean that in our little imaginary map, like they are now falling back and they are pushing forward, and they would sort of sprint to keep this position going. But that is a risk. And if that doesn't work out, if they take an injury, they will take 2. And we track that here, so they would go not the grazed, but the wounded. Brennis already took a hit. Ector has no backup. I think our boys are going to relatively stay here, which means they are losing their flanking position, relatively speaking. They're not moving on our maybe in the physical space, or maybe they are like moving around a little bit, but they are not moving relative to the threat of the enemy, and thus their offensive defensive position that shifts. So, all right, that was resolving momentum, and now we are going to roll for enemy tactics. Our captain has a kit on his back which allows him to like counter this, but we're first going to roll to see what tactic actually plays out. So in this case, we're going to roll a d6, and if I roll equal or under the threat level, which is 2 at the moment, the enemies will pull out a tactic. We're safe. For example, what it could have been is 2. All fortified troopers are now in cover. So everyone who was in a good defensive position is now encircled. So it kind of shifts back. Instead of now just saying, oh, the enemy is moving back, these are the moments where something like this would suddenly happen, and relatively speaking, the battlefield changes. The commander, in this case, has the commander's gear. That's an item I gave him, which means he can roll to see if he can counter it. And countering here means the sergeant sees what's going on, calls out to his buddies like, shit, they're trying to flank us, move up, change position, etc., etc. All's good for now. We are moving into our second engagement. Sorry, our second exchange of this engagement. We have positive momentum, which means we have a bonus on our next roll as well, because we gained it in the last round. It's momentum, so if we can keep it going, it's beneficial. And we start in this position with no one injured, but we had some close calls. Brennis and the scout did it last time. I think our sergeant is going to have... He's going to have Cassander move up. And our sergeant has a melee weapon, which is a optional rule item. And when he moves up to a flanking position, we're just going to copy... Well, I'm going to copy it there. It doesn't make any sense. But melee weapon. It can be a large maul or chainsaw sword. No copyright infringement intended. It's a passive skill. He doesn't need to use ammo or anything to use it. And when a trooper moves up to a flanking position, they can choose to move to a flanked position instead of rolling. So when we move up, we have a risk of not ending up in an optimal position. But instead of rolling, we can just take the bad position, and add 3d6 to a defense roll. So that means basically he would move to flanking, but he would move to flanked. So he would risk injury because he's not shooting. He's just drawing a sword and going for it with a high chance of inflicting serious hits. But if he fails, it's gonna take the hits. I like that. I like to play it a bit risky. I'm going to do this. So I'm going to have our captain basically charge, but it's going to be a move up move that he's going to use. Normally when we move up, we cannot attack because moving, we're still firing, right? When we move or when we fall back, we're still rolling around, reloading, shooting. We're just not doing enough to change the momentum of battle. Only when we really try to affect that momentum and really commit to that, that's when we roll dice in the offense roll. So right now, even as we're talking, our troopers are shooting and covering each other and yelling out battle hymns and stuff like that. That's all implied. So I'm going to have our commander move up in a suicide move because I like that vibe. I'm going to give him a nice thick arrow there. He's going to shout to Decimus, it was, I think. Yeah. To provide covering fire to Cassander. Yeah, Cassander also already lost his armor notch. But it makes sense, even though the risk is equal. I guess this makes a bit more sense given the fiction that Brennus just has fallen back. So, you are going to provide covering fire. I'm going to mark that with green to him. And you are going to be moving up. So we're now just declaring the intent, and then we're sort of resolving all that happens at the same time. Our commander is moving up, but does not need to roll because he already chose the worst position. So we already know he's going to move here. Cassander is moving up. We're going to go here, and we're going to move. He improves his offensive position, so he's now flanking. And he's going to roll a d6. On a 1 to a 4, he's now flanked. Or on a 5 to a 6, he's now in cover. He can choose whether to move up after I roll. This is him seeing what do I have available. So Brennus, I need to check. Cassander is like, I'm going to move up. He shoots a bit, pokes out his head. Now he's scanning. What do I have available from my current position on the battlefield? That's a 6. So, as a 6, he can move up to flanking and stay in cover. So, he goes from engaged and in cover to flanking and in cover. Perfect. That has happened. That has happened. Now, Decimus is providing covering fire, so he adds +1 to the defense roll of a moving or interacting trooper. So that's what he's going to do with him. But, so he would provide covering fire to him. But Decimus has a heavy machine gun. Now check this out. Heavy machine gun provide covering fire for up to 3 troopers. This costs 1 ammo regardless of number of troopers covered. Normally you can only provide covering fire 1-on-1, but in this case he's going to provide it also for his commander and help him in his defense role. As he charges up, he, I don't know, prevents people from shooting him as the sergeant swings his chainsword forward. So that's really nice. It does cost him an ammo regardless of number of troopers. Whoop, so we're going to take 1 away from there. And we're just going to have these 2 fire. So we're going to now be resolving this round in terms of offense rolls. Our scout, Actor, is just going to shoot. No special properties. Brennus, just going to shoot. No special properties. Decimus is providing covering fire. No special properties. Does not contribute to the attack roll. Uh-oh, we're only rolling 2d6 so far. That's not very good, because we need, to maintain our momentum. But we placed this notch earlier. We're rolling 1d6 extra because we won last round. Cassander is moving up, does not contribute to the offense roll. And you can see here, oh shit, the balance. But our sergeant is charging with his melee weapon. And we are now giving him 3d6 for that. And that's already baked into it, because normally you cannot even attack when moving up. So we're rolling 6d6 because our sergeant is doing some crazy shit. We could still add more d6 to this by having Brennus roll. Actually, let's do that. Let's have Brennus and Actor both expand an ammo, because we need a win. For 1 ammo, I'm going to 8d6. I'm just gonna roll it. That's good. Multiple 6s. We were going for that, so we move on. This wins us the battle, but it does cost us the ammo. And the beauty of this is, where is it? If the momentum gained from success is enough to defeat the enemy, the engagement ends. So our sergeant took a big risk here because he risks injury on a 1-3, even though he was covered. But by kind of forcing the situation, by expending extra ammo, we won the engagement outright, and we don't actually need to make the rolls. So in this case, we rolled multiple sixes, so we gain 2 momentum, and we win this engagement. However, for the sake of argument, let's see how this would have played out defensively. So, our boy commander, sergeant here, is flanked, but he is being covered. So we roll 2d6 and we take the highest value. He would have been okay. And Cassander would be moving up. And in the defense roll, that means when you're moving up, you would still have rolled on a 1 to 3 an injury. So, same for him, 2d6. It's the cover that saves him as well. So, that's nice. Yeah, we won this engagement thanks to some nifty ammo use. You can see that that's quite powerful. But we've also seen before that I rolled 10d6 and did not get any sixes. So we're tempting the dice pool. And this ammo I'm not getting back at the moment. So we're going back here. We'll reset this. Because Sector C was an icy canyon with limited cover and space to maneuver. And we took some squad took some serious incoming fire. Brennis protected Hector. I'm just going to check because I keep saying Brennis and I have no idea. That's really the name I picked. It just sounds so weird. Protected Hector because that's a little bit I like. You know, like this little dynamic happened here. So we're going to keep that. And that might be a story beat later. Or I might use that to inform the fiction later. Sergeant charged forward with chainsword. I could obviously expand way on this, sort of like I did verbally already, but yeah, this is the main beats of what's happening here. Alright, we have arrived at our objective. I would say that our objective, I imagine sort of like a vehicle silo, or not a vehicle silo, but like a little hangar, like an outcropping maybe with a generator in there. It's an old Imperial setup that was used genuinely for defensive purposes, but now has been repurposed by the heretics. So that's why we're attacking something that's relatively well entrenched. I would say that this is like we could use tight space to really simulate going into hallways. I like the transitional aspect, I think. Let's just make it transitional normal. That would still put some limits on normal cover transitional. And let's also just make it threat level 2. Cool. This means just double checking that no more than 2 troopers can be fortified. Not that we've had that yet, but So we have max 2 for basically both columns here. Sort of like that. All right. We're going to make an advance roll. As before, we are going to... I've already set the threat. We have a threat going on. We have no injuries. We have no mobility issues. But I am going to add fatigue in this case. So we're going to apply -1 after my 2d3 roll. The 5 counts as a 3. The 1 counts as a 1. That's a 4. -1 becomes a 3. So we are spotted. They see us coming. Squad is in cover and engaged. Which means this. All right. That brings us to the big finale of our mission. I imagine a cave, or sort of like a rocky canyon wall. Not quite a cave, but a bit of an indentation there. And there's like the power generator with thick cables powering a void shield somewhere else. And the heretics have set up here. They have maybe various like vehicles, like civilian transports as protection. Our troops will need to sort of descend towards them. Various rocks, big chunks of ice, maybe ruined vehicles from when the heretics took this position provide the cover that we know is available here. Yeah, let's see how this goes. So we start in a pretty even position. And I think in this case, we're going to do the same as last time. We're going to have... No, we're going to mix it up a bit. We're going to have Cassander and Brennus move up. So I'm going to just move them here. Now, the risky bit is I could provide covering fire to them with Decimus, but I also kind of want to move Ector. And if everyone moves, we're going to lose momentum, and I kind of want to prevent that. I'm thinking. I think... let's see what Decimus has for weapon. He has the heavy machine gun. The heavy machine gun also works well when fortified, just like the sniper rifle. Basically, they have the same property. The idea is that the heavy machine gun can be braced behind cover. Provide covering fire for up to 3. Yeah, this is a hard one. I can have everyone move. That's risky. Let's just do it. We're going to have everyone move to various positions. We're going to have... this may be a very dumb idea, but let's just see what happens. Cassander and Brennus are going to both move up. So I'm going to... Let's do it alphabetically. For Brennus and Cassander, respectively, I'm going to roll d6s. Because remember, when we move up, on a 1 to 4, they are flanked now. I have a 1 and a 5. So you are now flanked. You are now in cover, but flanking. Both are flanking. One of them is also in return flanked. So they're just, like, they went for it and they're out in the open. However, I can choose whether I want to commit. So Brennis is not going to commit to that. He's going like basically he checked and he's like, yeah, I can run for it, but then I'm out in the open. So he's not going to move this turn, and he's just going to fire. I think that's a good idea. We need more on the firing line. Meanwhile, Ector and Decimus are both going to check. Okay, we want to move towards fortified because that's in their best interest. So we're going to fall back. So alphabetically, let's first do Decimus and then Ector, 2d6. However, Ector does not need to roll because he is in light armor, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I can pick twice when moving. So let's just first roll for Ector. He can pick whatever he wants because he rolled a 6. And let's now roll for Decimus. Beautiful. Both can move into... here we go. Both can move into a defensive position, or they can improve it, and they can both pick engaged. So they are now fortified, injury on a 1, and they have no limit on their offensive position, which is great. Because they both have the ability to... Basically, they are now firing as if flanking, except from a defensive position. So that's really nice. Cool. So we have just 2 people firing. That's going to be tricky. So technically, we have only 2d6. But for both Alias and Brennus, I'm going to burn an ammo because we need to push them back. So they both get an extra die. So Alias is, like I said, assault rifle bolter. Maybe he just has a bolt pistol, but he's a sergeant, so he has good aim with it. He's really laying it down with his bolt pistol. Brennus is unloading on full auto with his bolter. Because we need to hopefully not lose momentum already. Oi, 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 oi. A 3 at the highest. I have nothing that is alleviating these circumstances. That's rough. So let's see here. Yeah, we are pushed back and we lose 1 momentum. Yeah, shit. Them's the breaks. We moved forward too aggressively. Too many people were focused on moving forward, so we are punished by that, and we should have moved a bit more, maybe conservatively, but it still could have happened with more dice. So we are going to lose momentum after this, but first we're going to make our defense rolls. We have falling back, and you are the only one who's moving up. And even though you are in cover, you have been moving up. So he rolls on a 1 to 3. So Cassander is injured on a 1 to 3 only for this round because he's moving up and not quite moving forward lands you in cover in this case, but as you move forward you are more vulnerable. He didn't get any covering fire. So let's start with Alias and Brennus. They both just have 1d6, so I'm going to roll Alias Brennus. Injured, no. Then I'm going to do Cassander. Cassander takes a hit. Cassander did not have an armor notch. Cassander is grazed, so something slips through the armor, and he now has an official injury on the track. And as you can see, if we would be playing at a higher difficulty, we would straight up risk a lot more injury. And then we have our 2 boys here who were falling back. So they act not fortified yet. They are fortified at the end of as this turn ends. But right now they're sprinting forward and still bullets flying around. Let's do Decimus and then Ector. Yeah, both just 1, except Decimus has heavy. No, he does not have heavy armor. It looks like it, but he doesn't. Damn, that's Decimus injured on a 1 or a 2, and Ector injured on a 1 or a 2. So Decimus has an armor notch. Ector does not. We have some injuries. And the worst is yet to come, because now our defense rolls are solved. So now we are going to check what happens with our momentum. We already determined it was going down. And this means in our, relative, this is also kind of a shitty consequence, but this is how it works. If we imagine, our armies clashing like this, if we lose momentum, it means our opponent is pushing. So we can maintain the positions we just fought for at a risk, or we fall back to maintain sort of our cohesion. But then we kind of lose the ground that we just risked everything for. So that's an interesting little twist there. I'm going to go to momentum gain and loss. On momentum loss, any flanked troopers must fall back in the next exchange, or gain +1 injury during that round. I wonder if this should be flanked or flanking. Yeah, I think flanked actually does make sense, because before we were punishing, when you gain ground, you want to punish flanking, but now the ones who are in a bad position will be in an even worse position. So if you are already flanked, you would basically fall off the map. We do not have any flanked troopers, so that is good. It could also be something that everyone shifts 1 position. We're not doing that. Enemy tactics. We are going to roll, as I said before, roll equal or under threat level. Threat level is 2. Good. We're safe. We're going to go up again, because we're going to go into the second round. We took some hits. We're not in the best position, but I believe we are now in a position to maybe really punish the enemy. So basically, I envision it as, the enemy came at us hard, and we lost some vital ground. But maybe by conceding that ground and holding that ground, we're now in a position to strike extra hard, because we get all these bonus rolls, basically. So let's double check who of our boys are injured. Cassander and Ector. Yeah, but you are both in positions we fought for, so I'm not going to move you yet. I can only provide covering fire on people who are moving or not fighting at the moment. So covering fire doesn't make any sense if no one is like moving around. In this case, I think I could move 1 more trooper up. I think ideally I need 2 6s to really push back and really gain some ground here. So what I'm going to do is just fire with everyone. So our sergeant, Alias, is firing just 1d6, no bonuses. Brennis is firing, no bonuses. Then we get to Cassander. He gets 2d6 because he's firing and he's flanking. And then we get our 2 beautiful boys, Decimus and Ector. And what we have here is that the sniper rifle provides +1 to an offense roll when fortified, which he is, and an additional +1 when fortified and didn't move. So this round, he gains 1d6 from firing, 1d6 from being fortified, and the next round, he would gain another d6. He would roll 3d6 because he had time to really take aim. So unless he gets really injured, he's probably going to get that. For now, let's double check. I used you. I got 2 dice for you. Now we're getting 2 dice for our sniper boy. And then we have our heavy machine gun who also just gets a flat +1 d6 on offense roll and fortified. So he's set up now with the heavy bolter, has that bracing position, and just unloads. He's also getting 2d6. So I have 8d6, but I would really like 2 6s. I could easily roll 2 6s, but I'm going to expend an ammo with Cassander. Cassander's going to shoot extra. I'm going to add an extra d6. 9d6, let's see. That's 3 6s, but 1 6 is enough for 1 momentum, and any more than 1 6 just gives you 2 momentum. It doesn't stack beyond that, I believe. Rules as written. Let's have a look. If 2 or more 6s are rolled, so I can at max gain 2 momentum per turn. This is really good. This is really good. So that means we go from -1. Like, we took that risk, and we took a big risk last round, and yeah, we suffered it. But now we are really like pushing forward hard, which is really nice. And we can maybe turn this momentum forward. So beautiful. We gain 2 momentum. We're now going to roll the defense rolls. No one moved around. We don't have any special circumstances this round. So I can just basically check the in cover and fortified columns. I'm going to do our troopers A, B, and C first. They each roll 1 die, left to right, injury on a 1-2. The 2 is for Cassander because he's the 3rd die. Sucks for you, my boy. Cassander, yeah, you are now wounded. He is bleeding. That's not good. Can we modify this? No, we cannot. Doesn't work that way. That sucks for him, even because he was even in cover. But that's what happens. So Cassander takes a round from his position. He was also the one unloading extra, I think, last round. Yeah. So that's cool. Like, he really put his bolter on full auto, but he's getting the return fire. You can imagine the loud masculine scream towards Cassander as he takes a serious hit. Now we're going to the 2 who are fortified. So this is D and E. So just 2d6 and on a 1. It's a weird roll. They're both safe. Good. Sip of water. Now, we're almost there, I hope, because we need to reach the +3. So I would really like to 2d6 again. But first, tactics, actually, because that could really fuck us over. And you can see, like, I roll under threat level, and at threat level 4, this becomes way more of a factor. And now we're safe. Cool. Thank the Emperor. That's really nice. Okay. We're still in this position. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep it simple. Yeah. So, Hector, the sniper, will add an extra d6 because he didn't move, and we're going to keep him there. So that's great, and he's not very likely to get injured. So that's actually really good. Oh wait, actually, I forget one thing. Troopers that were flanking, sorry, I just gained momentum, and I have the +1 on the next roll, but I should also remember this. This is a really big one. This is a really big one, because now basically what we did, we gained 2 momentum, so we pushed the enemy back, but now we need to determine what we do. Do we stay like this, or do we follow them forward to maintain that relative position? And these are our big ones. Any troopers that were flanking can choose to become engaged or remain flanking, but with the risk of extra injury. So Brennus was flanking. He can choose to remain flanking or become engaged. This is good, actually, because he's wounded. He's going to become engaged. As in, maybe this was Brennus, and the enemy falls back. So he took a hit, but he also pushed the enemy back. So he's safe now. Or at least he was just as safe as he was before. But Actually, he's just losing his flanking position, but he's injured already, so this is relatively good. The ones who are fortified, like they were sort of in cover, and now the enemy's falling back, or not in cover, they were fortified, but they were like behind obstructions, and they were, not having the best potential angle already. So they can either choose to become limited or engaged or in cover. So these two can either choose now to move here into limit. They're not moving, but they're relative position, right? So they either go into limited or they go into engaged and in cover. So what I'm going to do, relatively speaking, our heavy gunner is gonna go engaged and in cover. So he's gonna come out, but the sniper I'm going to not move, but relatively I'm gonna keep him fortified. He's now limited, but he gets that extra d6 because he didn't move the previous turn, which cancels out the limited. This is what snipers were built for. He will just wait, so I don't get an extra bonus, but I maintain steady with that. So that's nice. Okay. I'm gonna do some wild shit. I am going to, let's see, Cassander and Brennis. Cassander is injured. Cassander's gonna stay where he is. Brennis is going to fire. What's he gonna do? We're gonna move him. We're gonna do a charge move with him again for the Emperor. Fuck it. And the rest is just going to shoot. I'm not sure this is a wise move, but it sounds cool. So, well, let's use the charging color for that. So we are going to fire with the rest. We're not gonna cover him because he's filled with zeal and spirit, He is technically moving up. We're just choosing to move him up to a shit position. And by performing that move, our commander, our sergeant, adds 3d6. Then we have 1, 2, 3 people just firing regularly. And then we have our sniper, who is firing. It's 1d6. However, he's limited, loses 1d6. But he's fortified, gains 1d6, and he is extra fortified because he didn't move last turn, so he now rolls 2d6. 8d6. Surely. I think this makes sense. Fuck. That's bad. That's bad for our boys. Yeah. We have a 5 at the highest. Okay, we can still do something with this because with a 5 at the highest, we can go for success at a cost. Yeah. We're gonna go for success at a cost. So we're going to advance 1 momentum. And we're going to pick the trooper in the worst position. That can only be 1. So we're going to... He's also not being covered. We're going to roll 2d6 for him and pick the worst outcome. And he has an injury on a 1, 2, 3. Good thing is, he can only go to graced. That's maybe also a tweak I want to make, that he can get more injuries. Because now he can't really get extra injured. So he's a high probability of getting injured, but yeah, 1 to 3 he's injured. So he's injured, but at worst he can get graced. So, but we're also playing a routine difficulty mission, so I'm okay with this. So our captain, yeah, is now injured. Then we have our 3 boys here, B, C, D. I'm just gonna roll in that order. All good. Our sniper, injury on a 1. All good. Wait, I rolled 8d6. Remember, guys, I rolled 8d6, but we gained momentum last turn, and I didn't add the 1 extra d6 for that. So I'm going to roll 1 more d6, and if I succeed on this on a 6, we're going to count it as part of the previous roll. So, to clarify, I rolled 8d6 for my last attack, but I forgot that we gained momentum last turn, so I get to roll 1 extra d6. I rolled a 6 on that, so I'm going to dial this back, I think. That is technically more correct. And then we did gain, yeah, otherwise nothing changes. So he just didn't get injured. Not a big deal. We advanced once again, so we're going to resolve our momentum. Any troopers that are fortified can choose to become limited. He's going to stay that way. Any troopers that are flanking can choose to become engaged. He's going to choose to become... He's still flanking. You can choose to be flanking or choose to remain flanking. Yeah, no, he's gonna do that, I think. Or are we gonna keep... No, he's gonna stay there. He's actually just going to keep his position and risk an extra injury during the... He's just gonna go for it. Does that make sense? Whatever, we're gonna keep him there. I think that's cool. We're almost there anyway. We almost won. Alright. Yeah, the final, maybe final round, because if we can push into 3, then we win. Yeah. Tactics. Tactics. Roll a d6. On a 1 or 2, they hit. Save. Very lucky. I think everyone is just going to attack as is. I'm going to add the 1d6 for momentum. And we're going to have our sergeant is flanking. He attacks with a normal d6. He's not charging with... He might be using his melee weapon. He's probably using his bolt pistol and his chainsword, but the rules for the melee weapon require him to like really move forward. So in this case, yeah, he just rolls a normal d6 to attack with his weapons, and he gets an extra d6 because he is still flanking. We gain 1d6 from the momentum. We use 3d6 for our 3 boys there. And we have our sniper. 1 cancels out. Blah, blah, blah. That was 2d6. And I'm going to have Decimus and Cassander both use ammo. 10d6. There's multiple 6s in there. That means we move into our final bracket of momentum. The one we require to win. And that means with that push, our boys made it. So in our last fight here, or in this last, the fight for the objective, what we kind of saw was we were positioned at first and we made a big move and we kind of lost momentum, but the movement really paid off. I'm going to double check some of the wordings because the idea is that, yeah, you can use a position to gain leverage, but you might lose it as you gain ground. The relatively positive position. I think injuries should stack a bit more. Like, our captain was really fucked. Maybe success at a cost should be a bit more pricey, because only going to Grace now was kind of easy. But remember also, if we play at higher difficulties, there's just a higher chance of getting more injuries. And it can go quite fast. So this was supposed to be a routine difficulty mission. I think when we look at the total... could have gone differently. We used quite a bit of ammo to push this. We used our Cassander is wounded. We could argue now, as our troopers have succeeded, that Cassandra has to sit out the next mission. Not how Space Marines work, but how this game would work. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the overall result of our little playtest. This is the canvas I used. Yeah, I did not expect to be talking for 90 minutes. I hope it kind of shows what the system does and what the fun parts are. I hope it kind of flowed as I talked about it. I think if I would have just played this solo, it would have been maybe 30 minutes. But I probably also would have written more about it and kind of imagined the little roleplay scenes. We had our sniper, Hector and Brennis. We had a little scene. Did I wrote that down? Did I write that down somewhere? I thought I did. But yeah, that way you get these little beats, and the full rules also contain more to expand on that. So yeah, this is like the version 0.5. And it's all still in active development. And check out the rules for free and drop by the Discord if you want to know more. And for now, thanks for watching, and see you around.